set up entire projects just by asking, with AI agents that generate workflows, do research, and even complete tasks for you, not to mention real-time collaboration, video calling, and a heap of other amenities. Become the most efficient person on your team, even if it's just you.
All right, let's get this guy out of here. How you doing?
Good, good. How's everything with you?
Doing great, doing great. So yeah, we have a pretty cool stream coming up here. Narek agreed to walk us through pretty cool content creation workflow. We actually got a comment, but I was gonna pull up the comment. I forget where it came from, if it was on X or LinkedIn, but someone had mentioned with Taskade, could you create all your content across social media channels? Like, could you train it to create a piece of content and then have it create that for Instagram, LinkedIn, or otherwise? And, I mentioned it to Narek and he said, yeah, like it's possible. So we were going to show a way that you could possibly do that. So a lot of times when you're managing multiple social media channels, you want things to look a certain way on each channel. I mean, sometimes you can maybe cross, and repost and repurpose, but it doesn't always work and it looks a little weird when people do that, right? So we want to kind of customize it. So what's cool is we can use AI agents to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm gonna show a couple things. I think I'm also just gonna run through how to use automations to also just set up your content pipeline as well, because I know
Cool.
that's also a big thing that people want to do with Taskade as well. So it's gonna be in board view, run through automations, and then I'll kind of show you how everything kind of comes together in a sense.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can't wait for you to show us that, Narek. You got a fan here. Nicole says hello. Love the new background.
Thank you, thank you.
Which is awesome. And then we got another hello on LinkedIn. So feel free to leave comments in the chat, wherever you guys are. We love to see that. And we do a Q&A at the end. So if you have questions that pop up, you can just drop them in the chat whenever they pop up. So we'll get back to them, or we'll try to get back to all of them at the end. Let's see. All right. Looks like ready to go. So just wanted to let you know that we are watching the chat and we're excited to walk through this. We're going to do content creation for social media and hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, let us know as we're going through it and we'll do that Q&A at the end like I mentioned.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen. Just gonna hop right into it. Everyone can see my screen.
Yes.
Let me zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, a little small.
Okay, so I'm gonna run through a couple things. But first, I think what I'm going to go through is kind of like the flow of setting up your agents within Taskade. So we're actually going to set up a couple agents. We can go to AI agents and create agent. And for people that aren't familiar with what AI agents are, they're essentially extensions of your team. So what you can do is you can create these special lists on your team, train them on your data, and then afterwards have them do different tasks for you. So we're going to create a couple of different agents. I'm going to use one of the templates over here for brand strategist. And this brand strategist, I'm going to use it to actually create brand guidelines for me. And I'm just going to use Taskade as an example. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to provide it with data from our client, right? So in our case, it's Taskade. I'm going to choose add project and I'm going to provide it with everything you need to know about Taskade, this project right here. Now, you can do this for each one of your clients that you're onboarding or using. And the way I would go about it is I'm going to press update over here. I'm going to open this project over here. I've basically gone and taken links from our help center and added it to this project. And what happens is the agent can actually reference this data as it's creating content or executing any of its tasks. So if I decide, you know what, I'm gonna update any of these or change it up however I want, it's automatically updated, and you can see it's a link to this brand strategist over here. Now, one common thing that people do is actually they'll ask the agent to crawl the website itself. So I could say crawl, provide me with a list of URLs. So it could do this. And then afterwards from here, you can just create a project. So I could create a project right here and then go to this project over here. And then I can add this as well. So that's a quick hack of how you
Nice.
essentially get this same thing. Oops.
Nice. I love that.
That's a quick hack as to how you can get that same situation that I had earlier here with everything you need to know about Taskade. I'm gonna delete that previous project. Now we have our brand strategist. Well, the first thing I want to have them do is I actually want them to create a brand guidelines for me. And what we're going to do, I'm actually going to edit agent. I'm going to give it a tool. I'm going to have it create a project for me. So tools, what they are tools are essentially skills or capabilities that you can give to your agent. So they're permissions. I can tell it to, hey, create a project for me. And then afterwards, it will create a project. And then I can approve it and it'll actually go ahead and do that. And you can extend this to other things too, right? So you can have it draft or publish a WordPress post, send emails for you, different things like that. Right now, we just needed to create a project. I'm gonna do a new chat over here. I'm going to say develop brand identity. It's one of the commands that it comes with. Do it for Taskade.com. So you could see it referenced everything you need to know about Taskade, and then it created this. Now I'm going to say create project with this using this. You could see it populated it for me. Same information here. I'm gonna just approve it. I'm gonna open this project over here. Oops. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but I'm gonna go back over here, go to Taskade brand identity. Now I have my brand identity over here, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a set of agents that are specialized for each platform. So I'm gonna create one for LinkedIn, I'm gonna create one for Facebook, for Twitter, and another one for Instagram as well. And you can expand it for whatever channels that you need. But the point is essentially we have our brand identity and now we can reuse it across multiple agents. So I'm gonna go back over here. I'm going to create, actually, let's generate, oops, I want to generate one with AI. Delete that. We'll do create agent, generate with AI, create an agent that will help me create copy for LinkedIn. And this is going to generate the agent's name, instructions, commands, any tools that we need for our use case. It's going to generate that for me. And I'm going to do this for every single one. So you can see has all of this information over here. And I am going to remove some of these because I don't really need it. And I'm going to press create and launch agent. Now we have our LinkedIn agent. I'm going to change it to this so we can keep track of them. And then I'm going to do another one just for Twitter. Create an agent that can create copy for Twitter. I'm going to put /X because I don't know which one people want to go with, but we're going to go with this. So
Don't dead name them. It's X.
oh, X. So we'll go with X. And then it will generate the agent again, just like we had it before. And then you can repeat this for Facebook, for Instagram, and you could see now known as X. Draft tweet content, and I'm gonna delete some of these other ones. And I'm gonna do create and launch agent. And I'm gonna call this Twitter /X agent. I'm gonna do update. Twitter forever. So from
No
here,
way, Travis.
so we have our agents over here and we have our brand strategist over here, but we're going to do one more thing. We're actually going to create an agent that mimics our ideal customer persona. So I'm going to say, create an agent that pretends to be, well, actually, that embodies a small business owner. And this is just a random example, but with project management issues and needs help with using AI for efficiency, but struggles to learn because they are non-technical. And this is a very long run-on sentence. My English professors would be mad at me, but we are just going to go with this. And the reason why I'm doing this is because then we're going to create an AI team. So once we have this, we'll be able to go into the more interesting portions of this live stream. So we are going to create and launch this agent. And this is perfect. Now, next thing that we're going to do is we are actually going to, I'm going to create one more agent actually. And this one is going to be a social media manager. Oops, let's go into marketing and we're going to do social media manager. So after we've created all of our agents, our process is going to be, we're going to ask our small business owner, change this, I'll call him ICP. We're going to ask our small business owner about what issues they're running into so then we can tailor and target content to the specific demographic. And I'm going to do that through AI teams. So I'm going to create a team. This is going to be our social media department. And AI teams, you can kind of think of them as like collaborative group chats for your agents. And I'll show you exactly how that works in a second. And we're going to add all this together and we're going to press create. Now, you'll see this bar pop up. And auto, what that means is essentially Taskade will delegate whoever it thinks is the best fit for that job. So, for example, if I said, tell me about some of the issues that business owners face every day with project management and AI. Obviously, it's going to choose the small business owner because that's the best fit for the job. Now, I might say, create a brand strategy for targeting these issues for Taskade. And it's going to assign it to the brand strategist. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, create a set of social media, or let's do this. Create a content calendar with post ideas for each of these issues for LinkedIn and X. And I'm actually going to choose the social media manager here because I want them to do it specifically.
Okay.
And what it's going to do is it's going to reference the previous things. Oops. Reject that. I don't know why I did that. But let's try that again. So I'm just going to actually copy this instead, just to speed things up a little bit. I'm going to do it in a new chat. And I'm going to write, create a set of posts or ideas for based on the message below. Oops. Okay. Um, you know what? Actually, I'm just going to chat with it directly instead. So we'll copy this. And essentially what I'm going to do is I am going to go into my projects over here, going to go into my social media scheduler, and I'm actually going to chat with the social media manager directly. And I'm going to say the same thing that I did earlier. So now I have these different posts that I can use. And I'm actually going to do this one, for example. We'll do a thread discussing how Taskade integrates with popular tools and benefits of the seamless connection. Now, this is one example, but essentially what you can do is you can use different agents that specialize in their knowledge, and then afterwards have them collaborate with one another using AI teams. And then afterwards, once you kind of get your ideas, you can start using them within your projects as well. So what I've created over here is if I have this thread, I can essentially do a command and I can say draft tweet content.
Okay.
And what it will do is it will actually draft the content for me. And then I can say limit it to 140 characters. And I can do replace. Now I'm actually going to cut this over here, paste it over here. Oops. Paste it here. And now I got this. I'm going to archive this previous thing. So we're going to archive this command just to hide it. But now, let's say we have this. I can assign it to myself. And you'll see it moves it to this block over here and updates the status. And let's say it's good to go. Now I just need to send it to the client waiting for approval. I can change the status over here. It'll move it to the waiting for approval block. And then let's say the client approves it, then it'll go to approved. And you'll see that you can essentially create this content pipeline that's automated within Taskade. And then now, if I add a due date, it'll put it as scheduled, and then it'll move it to the scheduled block. And then once the due date comes, it'll post it to Twitter or X, and then from there, it'll change the status to posted. And if I mark it as complete, it'll also move it to posted as well. So if I mark it as complete, you'll see it change the status to posted,
Nice.
and then it'll move it to the posted block right there.
There we go.
So this is a really powerful automation to create because essentially you've created your own pipeline. And this isn't only limited to marketing teams. You can do this for sales pipelines as well. And you can have your own set of automations run with just updating different statuses and fields. Now, I'm going to actually show you how to do this in the backend. So it's much easier to actually set up your own flows and start working immediately with AI and in your projects. And the way we're going to do that, first things first, we're going to go back over here. We're going to go into automations. And I'm actually going to start from the total beginning, which is essentially a client request, right? So in Taskade, you can create AI forms, and I have my form over here. You would choose the form trigger. I have my client request, and all I've done is I've just put the email and the post request, so what they want to do. And then what that's going to do is it's just going to add a new task to the not started block, and it's going to put it as not started. And so let's say this is our request. I'm just going to put this, and then I'll say, please create a post mentioning our latest product update for Taskade. And then I could submit this request. Now, once it's submitted, I can go back. If I go into my projects, you'll see that there's a new client request input over here.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And this is usually how a lot of teams work. It's essentially they have an influx of requests, and then from here, I can have my agent run a command, or I can even run the command at the form level previously. But essentially, I have this over here. Well, the next thing is whenever this is assigned, I'm going to go back over here. Whenever a task is assigned, I need to move it to the assigned or in progress state. And to create that flow, what I've done is I've just used the task assign trigger, and then you use the move task within project action. And you just have to set the task ID over here, which you just do at and then task ID. And then I chose where it needs to move, right? So I have these different blocks. I want it to move to the in progress block. And then at the same time as this is happening, I want to update the custom field, and I want to change the custom field for that specific task to in progress. And the reason why you want to update your custom fields is because you can do a lot of these complicated automations and specific processes just by updating this last field. And I'll show you how, which is this. I know this looks overwhelming at first, but it's showing you the power of Taskade and how you can actually handle multiple scenarios and set up an automated content pipeline with it. So one example is first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to choose our trigger as task custom field updated. And then we're obviously going to apply it to this specific project. And then we're going to go off of status. So what are we doing over here? Essentially, we're defining that whenever a task status changes, move it to the correct column. And what you're going to do is you're going to press plus and then branch. When you do branch, it's going to show split into paths. What I do is then add path. So you add a path for every single stage that you have within your content pipeline. So over here, I have not started, in progress, waiting for approval, approved, scheduled, and posted. Now, these two are already handled with the previous automations that I showed over there. So I just need to have waiting for approval, approved, scheduled, and posted. And you'll see I have whenever a status is updated to waiting for approval, it runs through this process. Whenever a status is updated to approved, it runs through this process. And updated to scheduled goes through this. And whenever it's updated to posted, it goes through this. And with paths, you have to define a fallback, which is basically your default. So if none of these conditions match, then do this. And I just have it as nothing. So
Yeah.
if none of these match, this automation isn't going to run. But essentially, what I can do is we're going to choose the first path, and then it'll say custom conditions. And then we're going to do for the data, we're going to choose the status, and we're going to say exactly matches, and it's going to be waiting for approval. Now, you can add even more conditions. So, for example, if it's waiting for approval, and I can add other stuff too, or something else like status matches in progress or something like that, then I can run through this. But I'm just going to do this one because it makes sense. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the task in the project to the approval block. And then I'm going to send an email saying, hey, there's a new draft post ready for approval. And I'm going to add the task content and attach it to this email as well. So that way, whenever I get an email or the client gets an email, they know from the get-go, this is what the task content is. If they want to approve it, they can just open up the project and just approve, update the status to approved.
Okay. So they have to go in. So they're going to get an email, and is it going to have a link to the project for them?
I haven't put that, but you can.
Okay.
We can easily add that too. So
Okay.
I can just easily go here. I can do share, invite to project, and then copy this link.
Okay.
And then now I can just add this project as well. Here's
Okay.
the link to the project.
Okay. Awesome.
And it's usually going to be the same thing. So you can actually just have that over here. And then That's a good point. For ease of access, you can just add this project link here,
Yeah.
and then they'll be able to reference it and go through it.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say they probably
yeah,
won't know where to go if they
yeah.
don't have it there.
But essentially, the whole point of me even adding this one action over here is that you can actually have multiple scenarios as well. So even within a branch, you can have branches for each one of these paths as well. So you can have conditions based on conditions, and it can really get into these really complicated scenarios.
What would be
And
an example?
yeah, so like for example, if it's even approved or
Mhm.
if it's waiting for approval, but it matches something else, I can have another path. So if the
What,
status
like,
is
maybe, like, revise or something? Like
yeah, like
or
essentially you can just do a whole bunch of different
Mhm.
individual changes.
Okay.
But yeah, the main thing is like if you have split decisions or you have a standard process for each one of these and it's very decision oriented, like
Mhm.
yes or no. If it contains this or it doesn't contain this, then add that. Then you can run through your own um, steps as well.
That's
So
awesome. I love it.
yeah, you can essentially what you can do is you can define your own process for approved, or if it's scheduled, what you want to do for that, and another one for posted as well. But now that that's done, we're going to go back here and I'm going to go into the other aspects of it. So if something is scheduled, how do I manage that? Well, we have a new due date trigger. So what you want to do is you want to create an automation that says new due date. And whenever there's a new due date in our social media scheduler for the block that's approved, then I want you to update the custom field to scheduled. So the status will be updated to scheduled. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to chain back into the previous branched out automation that we had, and it's going to move it within the task. So, and then once it's up, now you have your status, it's updated to scheduled. Next thing that you can do is when there's a task completed, move it to the posted status as well. So just like before, where if I move this back here, I'm actually just going to do a new one from here. So let's say this is done here. If I assign this to myself again, it's going to mention it as in progress. But let's say this is ready to go. I don't even need to go through the approval process anymore. If I add a due date, what it's going to do, oh, it's actually only going to reference one block at the time because I limited it to just this schedule
Oh,
thing
okay.
because I assumed that every person would be approved. But
Yeah.
essentially, if you sometimes don't want to even deal with your client and you just want to skip them, uh, you can set it so it just any due date would automatically move it to scheduled. Um, but yeah, so once you have that, you can, it'll essentially what it will do is I'm just going to actually move this to, let's just do it for old time's sake. We'll just move it to approved. Come here. There we go.
Get over
There
here.
we go. Yeah. Very obedient thing. So we'll put this to 18. And what it will do is it will move it as scheduled and then move it to the scheduled block over here. There we go.
Sweet.
And yeah, and then in order for you to even treat this, take it a step further and actually post it to X, right? Because like this might be scheduled over here, but I needed to schedule to the actual channels. What we can do is do a new automation and we're going to do task due. And I'm going to choose the project again, our social media scheduler. I'm going to choose the scheduled block because I'm only trying to look at the tasks that are actually scheduled. And then we're going to do create post. You would connect your Twitter over here or X, and then you'll do create post. And what you're going to do is you're just going to attach the task content. So that's just going to take this bit right here
Okay.
and it's going to add it as the post itself. And
Okay.
then from there, if I do update custom fields, I'm going to change it to posted. So it triggers that automation of moving this to posted over here.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's a good point too about that these are tasks, if we want to post them on X. I think somebody had asked about that. You know, I want to post like a project to X and maybe we can do that in the future, but for now be aware if you're like trying to set up a post um through the X automation, make sure it's a task. Like it has to be a task to be able to post, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much the whole automated pipeline for it. I think this is very versatile for it. The other thing that you can do with this is that you can actually we can create a new project as well. So I'm just going to call this caption ideas. Actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. I'm gonna use the pipeline that I created earlier. I'm gonna delete this project. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to automations and I'm going to do add automation. We are going to schedule for our, let's do every day. What I'm going to do, and we'll just choose, you know what, I'll be generous, 10 a.m. Every day at 10 a.m., I want this to happen. I am going to ask this agent. So I'm going to ask my small business owner, I'm going to say, give me a list of issues that you run into regarding project management and AI. So we're going to rename this Ask ICP. And then afterwards, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my agent, you remember that
Mhm.
brand strategist that we had before?
Yeah.
I'm going to say generate a list of ways that Taskade can help alleviate and address some of these issues faced by the small business owner. And then I'm just going to do at, and we're going to use our result from the business owner. So we'll call this a content brief. And then from here, we can keep going with the same process that we had with AI teams. And I can actually have my Twitter agent or X agent create a caption for create a post for /X and limit it to 140 characters. I know it's 280 now, but we're just going to go with 140 for now, based on the content provided here. And I'm just going to use the brief that was generated from our brand strategist before. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that task to my social media scheduler in the not started block. And we're going to use the result from our Twitter agent. So let me actually rename this so it's easier to see. And I'm actually going to say only provide the content. That way it doesn't give me any of like, sure, here's this or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And from there, we're going to place it at the end and we're going to label the status as not started. And now we are just going to press save changes. And now if I schedule this every day at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll have this process done for me. So I'll have my small business owner or my ideal customer persona give me a list of issues that it's running into. I'll have one agent look at the issues and see how the company or client that I'm working with can actually solve those and address those issues, and then provide a targeted brief to a specialty agent that will create that specific caption and information for a specific social media channel. And then from there, it's going to add that task into our content pipeline, which was our project over here, the social media scheduler. It's going to add it underneath here. It's going to, and then afterwards from here, we'll just run through our process of creating content and scheduling it across multiple social media platforms. And that is pretty much all that I had to offer. I know that was a lot.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, we had a comment here. I don't know if there's a way around this or if you know what they mean here, but this is where I hit some issues where it seems to duplicate info in these setups because the first AI doesn't check what it created previously, if that makes sense.
I see what you're saying. One of the things that you can do is you can actually, this is one thing that one person did. They added a branch,
Mm-hmm.
and in the branch, what they did is they essentially defined the data, and these agents can reference their knowledge. So whenever you actually create a post, you can do two types of projects. So I'll kind of run through this right now. Let me do new project. We'll do start blank, and we'll say project full of already used content. You can essentially have the agent look at information over here in this project. It's going to be a little difficult to manage it, but essentially what you can do is you can have ask agent. I'm going to actually, oops, I didn't mean to add a path right there. I'm going to have another agent look at this information. And I can say, I'll just choose one of these agents right here. Look at the information, look at the content brief provided, and see if it matches familiar themes that we have already posted previously. And what I would do in this case, if it does, respond with yes. If it doesn't, respond with no. And you can do a couple things right here. So the path conditions, I could say the result from this agent, if it matches yes, then don't do anything. So if it's already creating those duplicates, I don't need it to run through the automation again because it's just going to keep creating duplicates and I'm just going to be spam with duplicates. But if it doesn't match it, so if I say the result is no, then I want you to run through this path, right? So like give it to this Twitter agent and then afterwards you can handle it and add task, and you can even actually add another task to that previous project full of already used content. That way you are kind of keeping track of what the agent is also generating as well. So that's how you would address the issues regarding duplicate or similar content.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay. You want to do some Q&A? There's some questions here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hop into Q&A if anyone else doesn't have any questions.
Yeah. If you want to throw any questions in the chat, feel free. I'm going to start going through some of these. Some of these are like comments, but let's see. I think we just covered this. So thanks, AJ. I think create an automation for creating tweets. It duplicates the content a bit instead of variety. Okay. I think we just covered that, which is great.
Actually going to stop screen sharing for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, where can we find the recordings for these events? This is the best place where you can see all of the streams that we do. I think we've done half a dozen at least of these. So we're working on taking the best clips and all of that. So do check our normal feed as well on YouTube for some of the shorter clips, maybe a little more easier to digest than watching the whole stream. So that's the best place though. Let's see. Can you share the project template? not sure which project template you meant, AJ.
Oh, I see what he's referring to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll actually send it over to our team, and then afterwards we can kind of create a whole template that matches it.
Okay. Okay, cool. So yeah, we'll create a template and we will share that. Um, where will we share it? We'll share it somewhere. We'll
Yeah,
share
I think
it. Yeah.
we'll probably just add it to the stream video, and then from
Okay, in the
there,
description
yeah.
on YouTube. There you go. So we'll do that. So check back the description of this stream on YouTube, and we will add resources and references like the project template, for example. So thanks for that, Bowden. We all love it. We love you too. Thank you so much. Um, this is a feature request from Paul about the Chrome extension.
Let me see.
Okay, I'm not sure. I don't know if that's you have a big link in there. I don't know if that's clickable.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me see. I'll actually show it. Please
Okay.
mention if I mean, it's something that we can definitely consider as well. Uh, we haven't updated the Chrome extension to kind of complement AI use cases that much, so it's something that we can also look into and see what we kind of come up with on that front as well. I guess the main
Okay.
use case here is just kind of like whatever page you're on, pass it to an AI agent, and then afterwards have it process that information with your trained data and do whatever you need it to.
Okay. Makes sense. What social media platforms can you integrate with to post directly? That's currently just Twitter/X, but LinkedIn is coming soon.
Mhm.
And then we'll be working on the others that are maybe a little more media based rather than text. It's a little easier to do the text-based formats. We are also working on Twitter threads as well. Right now it's just single posts, but that's something being worked on. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more social platforms. We would love to have Instagram and Facebook and all the other ones as well. Let's see. Okay, just tuned in. Thanks, Brian. Would like advice on having detailed projects shown with dimensions. Never got it from GPT. Do you know what Brian means there?
Um, I would ask for more details on it. I think so. Just to
Okay.
kind of put the scope of the platform for now, Taskade is limited to text inputs and outputs. So even the content that it's actually going to generate is just going to be limited to text. But yeah, I would
Mhm.
be interested in understanding a little bit more about his use case for
Oh,
engineering
you
type
said
rendering.
for engineering. Mhm.
Yeah, that would probably require more than just text inputs and outputs. So that's unfortunately that's one of the limitations that
Mm.
we have, but it's something that we'll look into for sure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just mentioned this. We will eventually have Instagram and Facebook able to integrate. So something we're working on for the future. Do we have an update on LinkedIn? I would love an update on LinkedIn. I
Yeah.
have to talk to the team and see about that. But as soon as that's available for more people to test it, I will definitely let you guys know. We will reach out on whatever channel you signed up for. Hopefully, you're on our list. We do have a post. I don't have that handy, but we have posts. But we'll also make an announcement on all of our channels as well when we're having more testers for that. So thanks. Um, detailed model description.
Mm,
My bad. Okay.
what is the use case for it? If you can kind of give me the use case in general, it's much easier for me to actually then
Yeah,
give you kind of like a whole description of how I would go about it if there's
for
workarounds.
sure. Yeah, for sure. What are you trying to do? That helps a lot. So just basically, if you could describe what you're trying to do, and what your end result you would like to have, then
Hmm.
it's a lot easier for us to either give you a workaround or maybe it's just a feature request and maybe something that needs to be submitted or upvoted. And
Hmm.
but yeah, it's hard to know if we don't know what your end goal is. Okay. Can you show some best practices to use tools for AI agents?
Mm, I mean, I could show you how I would go about them and how I've used them before. Yeah, I mean, here, I'll just quickly share screen. So there aren't exactly best practices per se, but essentially you can have an AI agent, and then the cool thing is you can actually generate it with AI, and it will now create the tools for you. But I guess one of the things that I usually try to do is I try to be more explicit with my commands, and that's just more prompting. So I try to be specific. I try to not give broad or vague commands and instead try to be as detailed as possible. So if I do create and launch for tools, I go over here and I can create a draft email. That's usually the one I like to do a lot because I respond to a lot of emails and that one helps me out a lot. So I can do updates and then I'm just going to connect my Gmail accounts. Now it's updated. We'll do chat. Create a draft follow up email to send to stakeholders, updating them on the status of a project. Send this to. So usually, whenever you give, oops, yeah. So it's going to ask for project details. Mention that the project is in progress, and we're working on it. So the more specific you are, the more details you provide it, the better it will be for handling your use cases. Project status update in progress, and then afterwards from here, I could just approve it or reject it. So if I do approve, it'll just run it for me. But essentially, it's kind of like be as specific as possible and try to give your details. Don't be like me in this case. So give your details upfront. And that way, it will actually say the draft follow up email has been successfully created. If you need any further modifications or wish to send it, just let me know. So that's kind of like the best practices as far as agent tools go.
All right. Hopefully that helps, Paul. Let us know if you have a follow up there. All right, good. I'm glad you signed up for our LinkedIn automation list. So we will let you guys know as soon as we know. Let's see here. Is the Generate AI agent only on the desktop or web version? I don't see it on iOS.
So on iOS, we don't have the option to generate the AI agent. Actually,
Wait, do we?
let me check.
That's
I
a
think I
good
do.
question, actually. There's been some updates. So let's check on that first.
Okay. Yeah, no, we don't have the option right now. But I know what we're doing is we're actually trying to work towards parity. So we'll have feature parity with mobile and with desktop as well. So it's something that we're looking into and trying to get up and running as soon as we can.
Yep, 100%. Love to have the app work the same as desktop, so that's coming. Okay, let's see. Did I miss anything here? I'm just gonna look back, but feel free to drop any other questions that you have about anything Taskade related, any use cases or things that you potentially would like to do. Let us know. And while I take a look at that, I'm just gonna pop this in to the chat as a reminder. If you have a feature request, oops, that's not right. What the heck? Let me try that again.
Typo for sure.
Typo, big time. All right, that's where you go. So please, if you have any feature requests, go here. It's the best place. We do get a lot of them on social and other places, which we appreciate. But the best place to put them is there. So we don't lose them in the shuffle. And the team does look at those. So that goes directly to the engineering team. It goes to our community. It can be upvoted. We can leave comments. So that's the best place. Let's see. Paul had another question here. I'm guessing we answered your last one, but please help with some advice for calling brag knowledge in the prompt commands.
So with this, I would probably it's kind of two parts to it. So the knowledge that you provided, you kind of have to make sure it's specialized as well. So the quality of the knowledge that you provide, if it's generic, it's going to have a harder time kind of finding specific points. That's one. Two, providing more specific prompts is the better aspect to it, and also telling it what you want it to do, not what you don't want it to do. So
Mm,
instead of saying like don't include this, actually tell it what you want. So include this, or give it a format, give it an example, and it can reference other data in your knowledge too if your knowledge base is kind of more limited and specialized knowledge. So I'll give an example. Let's say if you're creating a marketer agent, give it more specific data, like things that it wouldn't know unless you actually provide it, as opposed to giving it data that might make it into like explaining what a marketer is as well. So just different changes like that, those smaller tweaks really help with it. I hope that
okay.
was helpful.
Yeah, I hope so. Paul, you let us know if that's helpful, or if you had any follow-ups, do let us know. Let's see. Let's see. Do I don't know if you see any that I missed, but I think we might be through all of them. But feel free, you guys are still here. If you have any other questions, anything else, pop it in the chat. I'm happy to answer it. Otherwise, we will wrap up soon. Paul has a follow-up here though. I mean, when telling the agent to inquiries knowledge, is good to mention the specific file in.
Oh, I see. He's trying to do JSON queries, I think, if I understood you properly. Basically, there's a certain prompting method where
Mhm.
you define the data or a request in JSON format,
Okay.
and from there, uh, it'll, it's said that it can allow the agent to reference that data much more properly. But I mean, it varies on your. There's so many different factors to it. It depends on your prompting. It depends on how much knowledge you have in your knowledge base. If it's a lot more, it's going to be harder for it to actually perform through. It depends on how specific the knowledge is. So if it's a lot of repeating themes, it might have difficulty finding exactly what you want it to. Um, like there's so many factors to it. I wish I could just be like, this is the end all be all solution for it, but
Prompting, yeah.
yeah,
It's not a simple thing, I mean, actually, so, I mean,
yeah,
there's, like, prompting experts that like, know how
yeah.
to do crazy
There's
stuff that I
like
don't know, and then there's everyone else.
Yeah, there's like there's other ways or workarounds for kind of handling more specific knowledge or context. And one way that you can do that is if you actually open up one of your projects and if you ask it for specific information while you're in the project. So if I toggle the agent sidebar from over here and then I say, if I drag this over here, one thing you'll notice is that the context at the bottom over here, it says Taskade brand identity. So that's the project. And I can change it to general if I don't want it to reference this information. But essentially, you can have a side by side. So you're seeing exactly what the agent is seeing and referencing as well. So if I said something like, I'm doing you chat, tell me about the verbal elements, you'll see that the verbal elements of Taskade's brand identity include tone of voice, messaging, and you can see it's referencing these two things specifically. The focus is on benefits. And the reason why is because I'm much more intentional with how I'm interacting with it. I've basically told it prioritize this context, so it's just going to prioritize the context in this project specifically, and then it'll reference the data within its knowledge base as well.
Awesome. Let's see. Okay, Greg says, "The other day I made a movie box office agent. The goal is to be able to get information by movie or date the box office numbers." Okay. It worked a couple times, but I did get an error that the AI knowledge was only up to 2023. I'm assuming it was a glitch.
So knowledge is a hard cutoff for. So the knowledge it's trained on is a hard cutoff, but it can search across the web. So it's kind of a combination of the two that allows for real time, because the web is constantly being updated with the latest information. That's why if you actually tell it to search the web and find out more information about a specific movie or whatever it is, it will actually reference it. But if you actually tell it to search for a movie that at the time that its knowledge cutoff was, it didn't exist, it will struggle with it. So again,
What do
this
you
comes back
mean?
to like prompting
What
in a
would be the
sense.
difference? Like, how would you be the difference
So let me actually share my screen and I'll give you an
there? Okay.
example. So if I say, tell me about the latest films in 2024. Oops, I don't know why it does that. So, but if I say search the web to find the latest films in 2024, I'm just gonna press approve to do this. Like you see, it actually searches the web
Okay.
and it actually finds it, but it
Okay.
probably doesn't have context of these films being created if its knowledge is cut off at 2023. So that's
Okay. So
kind
you
of
have to
like
hit search. So search the web.
yeah, it's the combination of the two.
Okay. Got it. So yeah, prompting, commands. Okay. Got it. Makes sense. Hopefully that helps, Greg, with the workflow you're trying to do. Well, guys, I don't see any other comments coming in, so we'll probably wrap this up unless I see something else. But just wanted to remind you, we do these weekly. Let me give you that link again if you didn't see it before, but you can see all of our previous streams. Best places on YouTube. And we do these Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific. Should be on all the major channels, and we're looking to get on a couple more too. So thanks for joining wherever's best for you. See here. Do we have a follow-up here? Okay, well, Greg says got it. So cool. It seems like that helped. All right, cool.
And I will say one
yeah,
last thing.
please.
I think probably by next week we'll have released one of my favorite possible features
Ooh.
and updates. So definitely tune in for that. And yeah, it unlocks a lot of interesting
No
use cases.
teaser, huh?
No,
No
you
teaser at
gotta
all?
if you wanna see it, you gotta join the stream. Like
Okay. All
I'm just
right.
teasing everyone.
Now I'm gonna be wondering. I'm gonna be wondering. Okay. I don't know if we have any. Do we have any promo codes? I don't know. I honestly don't
Not off
know.
the top of my head. You could always reach
No.
out to support and
You
see
can
if
reach out to
there's anything.
support at Taskade.com and maybe they might
Yeah.
have something, maybe. But yeah, guys. Topic for next week. Well, we should have a set of updates. So we're kind of on an every other week schedule with our updates. Let me actually put that link in for you guys too. So we do have a lot of updates. This is where I go to find the updates because there's so many, but you can find a list of all of our updates. So if you go to just our blog, it's going to have like our other blog posts. But if you go here, you'll see all of our updates and you can see we're typically on like an every other week cadence. So next week we should have, as Nark mentioned, an exciting new update to share with you. So we'll be doing a stream where we go over the updates and we walk through a few of them. And then the next week we have a topic. So we kind of do every other week, if that makes sense. Suspense, indeed, suspense. So tune in, absolutely tune in. And yeah, all right, cool. Gotcha. All right, everybody. Well, we will end this stream. We appreciate you being here. And
see you next week.
It's been awesome. Might play this little video if I can get it to work. What happened to my video?
Video disappeared.
Yeah. Let's see here. Play. Let's add a scene. I'm just going to add a scene. I'll play our little outro for you guys before we take off here.
Set up entire projects just by asking, with AI agents that generate workflows, do research, and even complete tasks for you, not to mention real-time collaboration, video calling, and a heap of other